Hey everybody, I'm Barrett Wilson here with Guitar Tricks, and today we're going to cover 3 more tips that will save you some years, hopefully, in your practicing and your guitar life and your guitar journey. Now, real quick, if you want to dive in deep on how to memorize the fretboard step-by-step, go to guitartricks.com/memorize fretboard. There you can find lessons on learning note names, finger positions, and other helpful tips for memorizing the fretboard. Okay, so let's jump right into tip number 1. This one is a little hard to hear. It was hard for me to come around to this, but it's to memorize all of the notes on the fretboard. Now, guitarists put this off for as long as humanly possible. You kind of, when you pick up the guitar, you just want to get to cool riffs. You want to get playing. And learning the notes of the fretboard isn't something that just seems fun to do. But I would say that when you can't find the notes, it makes everything more difficult. It's kind of like trying to navigate in the dark woods without a flashlight. You don't have context for anything. It's hard to find things. When you're learning something, especially up higher on the neck, on the treble strings, a lot of guitarists are unfamiliar with this territory. I was for years, and it just took me so much longer to learn things. Now, when you do know all of the notes on the fretboard, everything is so much easier. Once you've got it, and your whole learning process becomes so much smoother. You have context for things. You can find things quicker. You don't get frustrated as easily. And it's just an overall smoother experience. It's much better. Now, some of the specific things that this is going to help you with are understanding where to find roots. So if you're in a particular key or if you're trying to find a particular chord shape, it's great to know where the root is. So if you're in the key of G, you know how to find G notes all over the fretboard. There's one here, here, here. There's open G. There's one here, here, here. There's even a bunch up here. They're all over the place. So this is a great reference. And that's just one note. The other thing is once you understand how to find notes, you can start to study octaves more. So this is more connective tissue, seeing how these octaves pair up all over the place. And when you know where octaves are, this is the beginning of understanding chords, understanding how chords are put together. When you study systems like the cage system or other things, it makes it a lot easier for piecing these things together when you know the notes of the fretboard. Now, another great thing is for knowing when things double up. So things double up all over the fretboard. So if I'm playing like this little third here, this little C major third, I can play it here, I can play it here, I can play it here and here. And that's 4 different spots of the fretboard, all the same notes, same octave and everything. So this leads to a lot of decisions like tone and where are you going to next. All these things are much easier to learn when you know the notes of the fretboard as well. And this leads to why it might be a good idea to play one thing in one position, another thing in another position. So if you're jamming with some friends, you're on C to G, maybe your friend is playing this, you want to play something different, C to G, it's nice to know, okay, I can play, there's a C here, there's a G here, there's a C here, G here. Now, all these spots you wouldn't be able to find if you didn't know where those roots were and where those notes were on the fretboard. Now, memorizing the notes on the fretboard is really easier than it seems. It's kind of like when you move to a new city, maybe a big city, and at first it feels huge, gigantic, you don't know how to get around. But then after a few years, you learn where all the major highways are, all of the side streets, you've been to all the different neighborhoods, you understand the connective tissue of the city, and it starts to feel smaller. It's just like that with the fretboard. Okay, so here's a quick way for you to get started with learning the notes on the fretboard. First of all, you want to stick to the first 12 frets. Everything repeats after the 12th fret, so whatever you learn down here, you can double up and learn and study this later on. Now, I want you to take 10 to 15 minutes out of your practice routine. If you're practicing 3 times a week or every day, whatever it is, for now, take 10 to 15 minutes and take one string at a time and study one string for a whole entire week. So one string, 1 week. You want to stick to the natural notes only, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Start on the A string. It's a great place to start because it starts on the A. So you can go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You'll want to be familiar with the major scale formula. So whole step, half step, whole, half. Now whole step is a movement of 2 frets. Half step is a movement of 1 frets. And the main important thing to keep in mind is everything is going to move in a whole step except for B to C is a half step and E to F. Those are the only 2 half step movements. Everything else will be a whole step. So let's do this now. Let's travel up the A string together. We're going to go A to B. That's a whole step movement, so 2 frets. B to C. That's our half step movement, so 1 fret. Then C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, that's a half step. F to G is whole. And finally, G back to A is a whole step. Okay, do this for a few days, a few practice sessions, and then learn how to go backwards. So from A, we go to G, G to F, F to E, F to D, D to C, C to B, B to A. Okay, it's important here to say the note names out loud as you go up and down. Okay, another thing I like to do is go up 2, down 1. So this is a pattern movement. So we're going to go A, skip B, go to C, back to B. Then we're going to skip C, go up to D, back to C. Up to E, back to D, up to F, back to E, up to G, back to F, and then up to A, back to G. So that's a great way to sort of jumble things up, mix it up a little bit. You can do the same thing going back down. You can go down 2, up 1. So from A, go down 2 to F, up to G. Follow the pattern all the way down. Another great thing to do is move in fourths. A lot of progressions move in fourths. So it's a great thing to get used to right off the bat. So if we're starting on A, we go A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, C, D, E, F, F, G, A, B, B, C, D, E, E, F, G, A. So that was all the natural notes there, and we're really mixing it up. It's great for the brain. Now, the other fun thing you can do is record a drone note of the open string. So I'm going to record a drone note here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's playing. Now, go through the notes and improvise all the natural notes and say them out loud. Let's try it. I'm going to start on E, pick a few notes at a time. Here we go. E, F, D, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, E, F, E. Okay, you get the picture. So I'm improvising here. I'm saying the notes out loud, and it's further strengthening that muscle. Okay, do this for each string 1 week per string at a time. Now, because the low E string and the high E string double up, this will give us 5 weeks. Now, from here, you can play a bunch of games. There's a bunch of fun things that you can do with all the strings combined to further enforce it. And then you can get into the sharps and flats and then move further up above the 12th fret. There's a bunch of other things that we'll have to get to later, but this is a great start. Doing this is going to help immensely. You won't regret it. Now, if you've already mastered learning the notes on the fretboard, I'd love to know how you did it. What techniques did you use? Leave me a comment. I'd love to know. Also, if you're enjoying this video, a huge thing to do that I would really appreciate is to like the video, subscribe to the channel. This really helps us out. Also, if you would like to learn guitar step by step, click the link in the description. It'll take you to a free trial of Guitar Tricks. Okay, here we go with tip number 2. It's going to be practice your rhythm hand separately from your strum hand. Now, this helped me a lot. I was constantly trying to learn things together at the beginning, and it's really hard for your mind to split the difference between the two things that are going on. You really want to try and work up techniques as much as you can on both hands separately from each other. So think of the guitar as two separate components. You've got your fret hand. It's really just kind of a glorified lemon squeezer. No, but it's getting all the notes. And then your rhythm hand is a drummer. Now, if you're not playing with a drummer, you have to rely on this rhythm hand to keep time. And if you don't have it down, it's going to make it much more difficult once you put things together. Now, focusing on rhythm hand without fretting notes will save you so much time in the long run than having to try and learn everything together. Again, your brain just really can't handle it. Now, this mostly applies to beginners, but it absolutely is still a process for intermediate players and advanced players alike. I still do this when I'm learning very intricate parts with things that I just don't understand. I have to really get into my strum hand and figure out the rhythms before I can put everything together. Now, if you watched the precursor to this video, Gary's video, which is called Save Years Learning the Guitar with 3 Tips, his third tip is rhythm is everything. So this is kind of just part of that. If we don't have rhythm, we don't have a whole lot. And it can be hard to study rhythm. So breaking it down just with focusing on that rhythm hand is gonna save you a lot of time. Okay, so here's a few quick tips on how to get started. And the big thing here is learning how to do scratch strumming. So this is this. So what we're doing is with our fret hand, we're muting the strings. We're just placing them flat over the strings. We're not squeezing because then you get pitch. You want it to just be muted. Okay, so fret hand mute there. Now you wanna play with a metronome or at least practice rhythms very slowly. When you're playing to a metronome, or even, you could even do some drum tracks or some loops, you want to get in a flow. Whatever rhythm you're practicing, you want to get it to a place where it's effortless and you can jump right into it without having to think about it. So just like Gary said in his video, how rhythm is everything, and also understanding how the notes work. This is huge. So you can do this with the scratch strumming. You want to go through all of the major notes. So whole notes, half notes, quarter notes. Get your metronome at around, start at like 60 to 70, nice and slow. Just practice the whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Feeling the downbeat is huge. This is a big first step in mastering rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feeling that cycle of it coming around, subconsciously eventually is going to be really big for your rhythm playing. Add on some half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes. Now, when you're doing this scratch strumming, you want a nice, crisp, clean sound. You don't want it to be broken. So this is also going to help your strumming as well, the sound and the quality of your strumming. Eighth notes, 2 and 3 and 4 and eighth notes alternating. So down, up, down, up. Yep. 1 and 2 and 3 and then 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 you're noticing that I'm counting out loud while I'm playing. This took me forever to do, but when I learned how to do that, it was just another step of gluing everything together. Your whole body is one thing expressing these rhythms. Okay, now with this rhythm stuff, again, I always have to restate this. The slower you go, the better. The slower you go, the more room there is for error. So it's very hard, it's very difficult. So if you can really master it slow, then bring it up from there, it's gonna be much easier and much more effortless when you play it at a higher tempo. Okay, and my last tip here, tip number 3, is to commit to mastering just one thing rather than being mediocre at many things. This took me a while to learn, and it's one of those things. The guitar world is vast. It's very exciting. There's lots going on. It's very easy to get lost and sidetracked in the many genres, the styles. There's so much music out there. It's easy to get lost in it, and it's easy to get down on yourself. Now, sticking to one thing at a time, this really pertains to many things. So it could be an individual technique. It could be a specific genre. Maybe it's one song. You just need to master this one song. This could even pertain to gear purchases. There's so much gear out there, you don't know what to buy. But if say you're very interested in just getting into country guitar playing, that might dictate, okay, I need to get a Telecaster maybe, or maybe I need to get this style of amp, and it'll help you zone in. Now, mastering one thing at a time is also a great way to keep steam in the engine, just to keep the inspiration going. Now, I remember when I graduated from music school, I was kind of overburdened by the amount of knowledge that was available that I had sort of dipped into, and it was almost too much information, TMI. It was just like I was overwhelmed and I didn't know where to go. So for a few months there, I was kind of lost, and I almost didn't want to play guitar anymore because it was too much. So after a while, I had to really think about what kind of music I really like, what I want to spend time learning, and I whittled it down to a few guitar players, mostly one guitar player, and then I really figured out, okay, I like this style right now, and I'm going to commit to mastering this one style the best I can. That helped me a lot to pull me out of that sort of funk of like, what do I do? Where do I go? Now, also, this doesn't mean that you will absolutely master the thing that you're trying to, but it will at least get you closer to the ballpark. So it'll get you maybe at least 85 to 90% there. And, nothing is ever perfect. We never really truly master anything. There's always something else to learn. But at least you didn't waste your time on so many other things that would eventually not work out, or maybe not give you enough inspiration to keep going as you would have if you would spend this time on just one thing. And then from here, this sort of allows for your path to reveal or show itself, and it'll lead you to the next thing that you want to master. It'll sort of provide that inspiration, and then you're like, oh, this is the next thing I want to do. I want to build upon this now. And it's also easier on your attention span. As opposed to focusing on so many things, you can focus on one thing. Now, this doesn't mean you can't take a break from this one thing. Absolutely, you can supplement with other things. It's just a helpful thing to kind of have this one thing as your main goal. And then hopefully in the long run, you'll have built more of a solid foundation in the things that you were truly interested in, and you got there much quicker. Okay, thank you so much for watching today. I hope these 3 tips will really help you out and that you'll find a little more focus and direction in your guitar playing. We'll see you later.